Hey guys, happy Monday. I'm going to be working today on a track that's pretty cinematic, and it's kind of directed towards sync licensing, trailer music, music for TV, film, etc. And it's from an artist named Elliot Hosenfeld, and really, really cool artist, got a cool voice. The track is kind of a hybrid, like Pink Floyd meets like cinematic. I don't know how else to say it, but a lot of live instrumentation and also samples and kind of a blend of everything. And I'm going to be diving into this track with you guys and showing you a bunch of different workflow stuff and how I kind of create these tracks for sync licensing for artists in my artist development program. And kind of what the process is a little bit, give you guys an inside look of all that stuff, show you the plugins I'm using on not only my master bus chain and stuff, but vocals, orchestral stuff, drum samples, and all the different elements in the track and how I'm blending the samples with the live players, right? And just building a cohesive world that feels cinematic and makes sense, has dynamics, etc. So if you're here for the first time, I'm Bradley Denniston. I've been in music for over 25 years, so I'm going on 41 years old. I started in music when I was 12, electric guitar, picked up drums, played in bands, whatever. Fast forward, moved down to LA after going to school and getting a degree in sound from the Bay Area, from a really cool college up there called Expression Digital Arts, which is no longer. It's actually got bought out by SAE. Graduated from there about 13 years ago, came right down to LA. Worked with Mark Mothersbaugh, did the Lego Movie, 22 Jump Street, Thor Ragnarok, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, hundreds of different projects from commercials and Lexus, Honda, Toyota, Dodge, any company you can really think of. And I've done about, in placements alone, I've brought in about $3.5 million in sync licensing placements with the work I've worked on. I've won a Telly Award and a Clio Award for music I've composed for commercials. I'm putting out my own records, and I sit around 50 to 75,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I've scored full Netflix series, including Abstract: The Art of Design, which was up for an Emmy Award. I've scored animes like Cannon Busters. That's a Netflix original from my homie, Sean, sorry, I'm like trying to remember all these people. LaShawn Thomas, excuse me. He was one of the guys involved in the Boondocks anime cartoon that was on Adult Swim or Cartoon Network or something. But anyway, lots of projects, lots of music, and here I am to kind of just help you guys. I could just be not live streaming right now and just doing this by myself, but I think it'd be cool and useful for you guys. And if you get something out of it or you get anything out of the YouTube channel, please, I just ask that you guys show some support, show some love, share the show, drop comments, hit the thumbs up, try to engage a little bit, because I do this for free. Like, I don't get paid to do any of this stuff. My YouTube channel doesn't even really generate an actual profit for me in any sense. I actually lose a lot of money every month from doing this. So I do this for you guys. And I do this to connect with more people that are like-minded. So just show love and do your part. You know what I mean? And if you have questions, just drop them in the comments. What's up with everybody? Scott, what's up, man? How are you? It's always good to see the same people kind of showing up over and over again. Philippe, always good to see you, bro. Good time for you, huh? Like it's not 3 a.m. over there? Hey, Ice Mike, what's good? What's good? All right, cool. So yeah, let's dive into the Logic session. I am using Logic Pro 11 here, and I'm just going to kind of break down a little bit of this because this looks kind of crazy, right? Basically what's going on here is the client had a session and they had started something and I take it over pretty much, right? So I take it over, I replace samples, I replace stuff, I add stuff, I rearrange stuff, I tune vocals, whatever needs to be done on the production side of things. And because of my background and my skill set in music for TV, film, and commercials, I know what those people are looking for. I've worked with music editors, music supervisors, line producers, creative directors, executive creative directors in advertising agencies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And with big directors as well. I've been in the room with, Taika, who did Thor Ragnarok, and a bunch of other people, like anybody and everybody you could think of. And I'm not here to like name drop. That's not really the point of this. It's just so that you guys know that when I'm showing you and telling you stuff, that you guys know it's coming from a place of experience, not just me watching YouTube tutorials and then regurgitating information to you. Because I do get kind of tired of that idea with all these people online talking about stuff that they've never done. And that kind of pisses me off. So I want to make sure that you guys know that I have done this stuff, and I've done this pretty well for years here. So I'm going to play this back for you though, because I want you to understand the vibe. The vibe is kind of like this, like Pink Floyd meets like cinematic. It's cool. It's really cool. I just want to play this and let you guys kind of hear where it's at. And then I'm going to pull in some stems from my orchestrator, and we'll start to get to work on some really serious stuff here. All right, so it's got all the elements of a licensable track for, I feel like it's like a drama series, maybe TV promo stuff, right? Film trailers, things like that, right? And this can be stripped back for sure. But the idea of the track was, and this came from the artist and us working together. You know, I don't just like do whatever I want on someone's track. When someone hires me for something like this, the idea is to become partners, right? My artist development program is about partnerships. So it's about taking an artist's work and making sure that we can build it out to something phenomenal. And then I can take my resources, my skills, and my client base and, you know, my network and monetize these things and pitch them for sync, etc. So it becomes a partnership. It's not just you pay me, I give you a service, and then you run off with your song and you don't know what the fuck you're doing or how to make any money with it. And, you know, like so many artists. And I got sick of that. You know, I used to like really push mixing and mastering and producing for clients. And I'll tell you, like, independent artists don't know their thumb from their ass, you know, and that's the truth. And I'm an independent artist, you know, so I'm not just talking down on people. I'm telling you, this is the way that it's set up. Independent artists, they find influencers, you know, that they just follow blindly. And they're like, yeah, that's what he said, is drop a song every week or do this and I'm going to be famous. Like, there's so much more nuance to this stuff. And, you know, that's why I started the artist development program, to help artists really understand the nuances and to also expand their network and their skill set. So this is the track. The idea is that it starts really small and it builds and builds and builds and builds. Okay. So I'm going to bring in some stems from my orchestrator, because when I get to a certain point in my production, I typically go, okay, what is this lacking and where can it be better? And there were some strings in here, right? So I'm going to play these parts because I think this is probably the most important aspect in understanding how we're going to take this from like, pretty good. That's pretty good, right? Like this could probably sync by itself where it is. But I want to take it up. And I want to keep bringing it up by like, you know, 3, 4, 5%. Just these little notches up. And as we keep notching it up, it keeps getting bigger and better and bigger and better. And that's the idea. So what we have here is some different stuff. We have the Alchemy synth. I just kind of left it on what he had because I thought this was a pretty cool sound. It's kind of like a, you know, here, I'll play it for you guys. But like that on its own was like not that cool, right? So this is what it was without the plugins that I have on it. Right, so the chorus is giving me more of like that Pink Floyd-ish kind of thing, right? I didn't want to go too far outside of the world he had already built. So the chorus scene is kind of giving that that throwback 70s kind of vibe, and really like 70s, 80s, you know, the Juno 60, Jupiter, that was like 70s. And, you know, Pink Floyd used a lot of synths. They used actually some really interesting synths, stuff that I've got to play with because Mark Mothersbaugh had like an amazing synth collection. And yeah, he actually had a synth that Pink Floyd had given him as a gift. I don't think it was a gift. I think it was more like, hey, that thing's kind of broken. And he's like, can I have it? They're like, yeah, sure. But then we're marrying kind of that with this kind of bass that's very electric, just electric bass, right? So we have electric bass. We have a lot of bass part stuff going on. And I'm just going to kind of like solo out all these different instruments. This is what I added because I thought this sounded way cooler. And this synth is insane. If you guys are looking for a really cool Oberheim OBX sound outside of the Arturia kind of stuff, this is just an amazing one. Like, I don't know what to say. It's the G-Force stuff. So here's this synth here with the bass, the electric bass, and the Alchemy synth all blended together. much bigger world, much more cinematic and pretty huge, right? And then I started adding these actually like kind of glitch mob, I think was kind of the samples and the idea that I liked here. So I started adding these drums, which I thought were really cool to kind of give this a little bit more of a modern feel. So juxtaposing like the Pink Floyd-esque kind of ideas with the modern sampled, chopped up, glitchy kind of stuff, I think makes it a little bit more modern. So this is what I did here. All right, and that should feel kind of off kilter. I didn't want it to be perfectly on the grid, right? Like, if you want organic and you want something to feel and keep that organic nature, even though it's electronic, it's really kind of, it's easy to do by just making things a little fucked up. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I do that is because everything will start to balance itself with the push and pull of not being perfectly on a grid. So for example, you have the vocals that are not really perfectly on a grid, but also these guitars, right? So these guitars here really start to push and pull the rhythm. So it's a little bit more organic with the programmed. And marrying those worlds is really like what it's all about when it comes to trailers, TV promos, sync licensing stuff. It's like people want to hear interesting sounds that sound cinematic and paint landscapes, right? That they can put a narrative on top of. Okay, so here's the guitars with this. And at this moment in time, these guitars are not a key element. They're not up front. And I don't think they should be, because as we get towards the end of the track, we want it to become more cinematic and more dramatic. And the guitars are just kind of doing this really boring thing. You know, it's just like a stompy, you know, quarter notes. Right, so they're nothing really that exciting. I kept his preset stuff on here, which is just a Logic amp and the Heavenly chorusing. I think it sounds kind of cheesy, but that's okay because I don't want to take away from that kind of Led Zeppelin, cheesy, classic rock kind of sound. And when I say cheesy, I don't mean bad. I just mean it sounds kind of like a toy or something, you know what I mean? And then he had these strings, and this is where I was like, nah, this ain't gonna work. This whole like Hans Zimmer, like, you know, 16th note, you know, or 8th note or whatever, this kind of thing here. Okay, so before I switched out the samples on these, because these are all better Spitfire libraries that I have, just to kind of, I wanted to test it. Like, could I make these better just by switching out the samples? Because here's what he had before I switched out those samples. He had just like the staccato strings from the Logic stuff, right? So it's just like the built-in strings, which don't sound bad, but they sound like a really, really small ensemble on something that has a huge landscape, and it just doesn't translate, you know? So here's what it sounded like. Okay, so a big thing I would say is like voicing a pizzicato here makes absolutely no sense. So you want to go spiccato or staccato on the strings. I would say spiccato because spiccato is going to be shorter. You know, you want that kind of attack. But I thought that was really cliche. I was like, nah, that ain't working. So I hit up my buddy who is an amazing orchestrator. His name's Andrew Morgan Smith, and you guys should all go follow him because he's just a good dude anyway. And I got him to orchestrate the parts that I had in my head and kind of like explain to him, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I want to do with this. I want to go into a different world with this. I want this to be much more epic. I want this to be way better than it is right now. So I had him orchestrate this, and I'm going to bring all of this in because I wanted him to do brass and Brahms, like low brass stuff, synth stuff, and mainly strings. I wanted to like take the strings up to another level. And one thing that orchestrators can do really well is they have sample libraries that they know like the back of their hand. Just like I know production with like drums and samples, and I know mixing and vocal textures, and I know sonics and all that stuff. An orchestrator like Andrew, he knows how to use his samples, and he knows which samples do what. So that's really, really important to what we're going to do here as we bring in these stems. And I wanted to do this with you guys on the live because I thought it'd be a cool thing for you guys to hear the big difference between, hearing like this kind of basic thing to like, whoa, this can be a lot better. I didn't think about that. And this is something where I think that amateur music and stuff that doesn't get placed very often, the difference between that, and sometimes it's random because you might get a sync license or a placement or something for some cheeseball like library track, right? But you're not going to get those 6-figure syncs with that. You're not going to get those huge 5-figure syncs with that. You're not going to get those continued syncs with that. You're going to get the big sync stuff when you go beyond, above and beyond, and it's something special, right? It's something like, whoa, a composer on a film couldn't even do this. Like one of the biggest composers, right? Like you got the vibe right because you did a production thing, right? With a song, but it also has the composer elements in it, which is really, really important. So anyway, I'm going to say hi to everybody. Maybe a higher brass. Yeah, that's absolutely. And I'll show you what we did with the stems here so you guys can understand kind of where we took it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you kind of hear. You're like, oh, this could be better. That could be better. Right. Yeah, it's a big song. It's, we have to go bigger, and bigger is not always, just more instruments. I think it has a lot more to do with arrangement and composition. So orchestration is a big part of what I think, is synonymous with arrangement when it comes to this style of music. PF used the heck out of the VCS synth, which Arturi makes. Maybe it's not that dirty, saturated, high, to cut through. Yeah. Like you can go. It's hard. You have to really balance the synths with the organic nature of what this song is. It's very, very difficult to do that sometimes. So I'm just going to turn these stems down, but I want to just play these first. I think everything's just going through the stereo bus for now, besides the drum stuff. So let's just solo. Now, here's the thing. He gave me wet and dry stems. So what I'm going to do is I will go through and just mute all the dry stems for now. I'll probably end up using some of the dry stems so that I can make my own reverbs in the track. I like to do that because I feel like when you program the reverb in your track rather than like having reverb printed in a stem, the reverb it's an algorithmic reverb, right? Like most of these reverbs are digital. A convolution reverb especially, it can react and interact with the samples and in the session all kind of glue together as it goes through these different buses, right? But if you have just like a wet stem, you're kind of just getting the reverb that's already there, and it's not allowing to like do the math within your session. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. It's the same thing as like trying to mix a vocal to a 2-track beat. It's much more difficult because of that. So you want the algorithm and the math all to kind of work together within your session and what you're playing and the audio within the session. So that's why I ask him for dry stems, because I'm like, hey, I'm going to take these and I'm probably going to run them through my own convolution reverbs, whether that's, Altiverb, or maybe I'm going to be using some 224 on it, like a lexicon, something that's going to be algorithmic. But anyway, let's just hear this. And I think the panning is kind of built into these. Usually he does that. So because he's panning the orchestra and stuff, right? But he may not be doing that in these. I might have to kind of pan them out how I like them. But for now, what we're going to do is take all these dry stems, right? And I always have the track on off button showing on the track, so I can always turn stuff off because I don't want to take up processing power and stuff when I'm not using a track. So I just turn all those off. I hit the off button, and then I'm going to hide these just for now, right? Like hide selected tracks just to keep it clean. So here's our orchestral stems. And I also wanted him to do little stuff in the beginning as well. So you can see there's some writing here, some flourishes and things like that to really make this more interesting and texturized. And I'll just kind of play this because you're going to hear these samples sound way better than what are in this session right now. You make me feel with the So you can hear why I want the dry stems so that I can place these how I want them, because these are really, really deep. They're really reverberated, and I'm not sure that I like that so much. So these are all the wet stems. But let's go to the end here where it all starts to build up. So I'm noticing right now that these have a pickup bar, and I'm off by like a whole bar. So let's go to the beginning of the stems here and just fix that real quick. So that happens a lot with orchestrators. They always put like an extra bar at the beginning because they have like a pre-roll on it. And that's what I think he did here. So I was wondering, I'm like, this sounds kind of weird and off, but it might be actually 2 bars off. Let's check it real quick. Okay, maybe it wasn't a bar off. I think he may have just put the sting at the end. I see what he did. So he just kind of like has the sting separate so that I can cut it out and move it into place, which that's, you know, pretty normal when you get that kind of thing. But I thought he would send me that sting in a separate stems kind of thing is like the... So this is a big lesson for you guys is the end stinger out. You always want to have a sting out on sync licensing stuff. Just just have it. Don't think like, oh, I'm going to do this one different. I'm going to fade out, or I'm going to abruptly stop the track. Like, always just have a big hit out, right? That's your last stinger on the downbeat. Very important for sync licensing and for your music editor to be able to chop that and put it where they want it. So a lot of the times, like, I'll just do a big sting out on something cinematic and dramatic so that it can ring out, and they can always just fade it back if they need to for the scene or whatever. So here is what we got with these drums. Obviously, I need to gain stage these into the mix. They do not sound good right now because they are just fucking really loud in the mix, and everything's super loud and distorted. So this is where you start to mix everything, and why I have the dry stems, and just a really important part of doing this. So let me just play this with the drums. I have here and the orchestra, and then I have some booms and stuff here. So these are all just kind of big boom hits and stuff. And we'll just kind of listen to these together. All right, so I'm trying to listen to the balance of what he's got going on with the synths and stuff. And for now, I'm actually going to mute the synths, right? And I'm going to just focus on the strings and getting these strings to sound good and getting them into the mix. So what we have here is we have a brass synth wet, right? So this sounds like this. Really cool texture, and I told him, hey, look, we want to make sure that we keep that kind of Pink Floyd 70s sound going. I don't want to go all orchestral, and we have to make a nice balance here, right? And then here are the horns wet, which these are more likely just great samples. All right, and then that is our double bass. So I'm just putting the strings together. So we have double bass, we have basses here, and then we have the cellos, the violin 2, violin 1, viola. Let's put the viola in between the violins. And then we get into trumpet, which should probably be up top here because that's going to be probably the highest register thing. And then we have the horns, the low brass, the synth stuff. So let's put the synth stuff all together as well. And just kind of organizing these is going to go a long way here. And it looks like this synth, yeah, so this is just kind of playing on different parts here. And then I think this low brass is going to be a main kind of sound here. Violins, viola, cello, bass, and then this is like a synth low string kind of thing. I don't know about this one. I don't know if it's just going to get really congested in the mix. So here is the basses. These are the bass strings, right? All right, so that's where I go and I unhide, and I go to my here I am basses wet, and I find my basses dry. Okay, so let's find that. And I think it's up here somewhere. Yeah, this is going to be the last one. Nice. Bring it down here. So this is the basses dry. Okay. And just so you guys can hear the difference between like a wet, you know, super drenched in reverb bass and a dry bass, this is the difference here. All right, so I really like to hear that dry because it's already in a room. You can just hear it. It's the samples are in a room from a stage, basically. So there's probably like a tree, a tree meaning like there's some microphones in a tree position. Usually LCR, they do left, right, center for film kind of stuff. So here I'm going to go in and I'm just going to open up the this new Waves Curve stuff because I just love it. I think it's so fast and easy to use, and that's what I'm about when I'm working on this kind of stuff. Curves Equator, open this up, and here I'm gonna hit it learn, and I'm gonna let it learn this. All right, so this is this curve actually looks pretty good. What I want to focus on is kind of getting this down just a touch and bringing this up a little bit. So let's go to flat, and we'll change the shape a little bit like that, and the sensitivity, bring that up. Right? That just kind of brings out those strings, the Rosen on the strings a little bit more, which I really like. And I think it sounds aggressive and kind of intimidating and more epic, when you can actually hear the strings on it. So I really like that. What's good, man? What's good? It's good to see you. Smoke World, baby. All right. So yeah, so just kind of bringing down this low, rumbly kind of stuff. That's all I'm doing here. And then I'm going to actually mute and hide these, the really wet bass stem, because it feels too wet to me. Same thing probably with the cellos. Let's hear the cellos in here together. Yeah, and also like the pre-delay of the room just kind of makes them feel out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to get the cellos, the cellies, cello. All right, and then grab these dry and bring this down. And then let's hear these cellos dry and get rid of the wet here. So how much better is that than beep beep boop beep 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 beep, like just really boring ass shit, right? So this is a much cooler pattern to me, and I'm excited that he did it this way. He kind of came up with that himself. He was like, yeah, I was thinking maybe doing something not so cliche, if you will. So here's the violin dry, and I want to put this in here so you can really hear the pattern that he's doing here. Right, really, really cool. Like that countering, this is really dope. And then I'm gonna hide and mute this violin here. And then violin 2 dry, let's unhide that. I'm liking the dry samples better, obviously, as you guys can tell. So let's hear the violin 2 dry in this mix here. Yeah, very cool, very cool. I want to get the violin 2 in here. So we got violin 1 and violin 2 dry. So we need violin 1 dry on. Yep, violins. And then we got the violas. Where is the viola? We want the viola dry. Here we go. Pop that in here. Yeah, you can see it starts to become like a bit of a nightmare with organizing things as you get all these stems going. But let's hear this. Right? So hearing that with the drums is what I want to hear. And I'll just kind of like bounce between these because I really want to understand how these are working in the context of everything, right? So let's pop I put like rock drums in at the very end here so that we can really open this up as well. So it kind of goes from like these rock drums to another rock drum kind of loop, which will be replaced by actual player, you know, so that'll be a really cool thing. But I have this, this snare is really like the thread that goes throughout this, this whole concept. And the snare is interesting because if I take all of these plugins out that I've used here, this is what the snare sounds like, the program snare. All right, not bad, pretty cool sample. So what I did here is I EQ'd the top and bottom out. I threw some compression on there. The CLA 3A is great for snare drums, rock guitars, super fast attack. And then we have this heat wave, which is really doing a lot here, and you'll hear it. And then the UAD AMS RMX 16, which is absolutely insane. So check this out. So now we're going to get this kind of like ping pong delay thing with a ton of compression, and it just kind of gives a different edge to everything. Right, so that's really cool for me. I think like that feels like such a dope idea. You know what I'm saying? It's it makes it much more modern too, just to have that snare drum be introduced with that kind of ping-ponging thing. I do think that the dry wet, we could probably take this down a little bit. Like it's pretty intense. So I'm just gonna knock that down a couple notches. But that's what I'm doing there. And this Heatwave plugin is really dope. I actually really like that. Really sick textures with that. So that's everything, but check this out. So now we throw this OBX synth in here and we start to get these like, whoa, this is like modern with the orchestra. Yeah, they all start to kind of complement each other and blend into the world. Right, so this is like the foundation for the ending. It's you got to be careful too because we'll pop in the guitars and everything, but the big stuff that's going to be hard to fit in now, obviously, we don't want any of these high strings. We're getting rid of these because we've replaced them with a different orchestral sound and idea. So these would conflict with each other, and I really don't want to give them like these, you know, conflicting ideas here. So I'm going to take those, I'm going to hide those as well. And then the bass. The bass is going to be a hard one because this bass, this electric bass, does not really fit with this idea as well at the end with our big bass synth hits and shit, right? So listening to this bass by itself, it's doing this. Right, it's kind of doing something different than like these big epic hits, right? And as we put these big epic hits in and take that bass out, right? And let's go back to our foundation again with the drums. So we got all these drums and the orchestra here. And as we solo these out, Right, it's much more epic to have the bass just going right instead of it going da 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 da, like you know. And if you have like just one bass going da 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 on top of a padded bass going out, you got to make room for it if you're going to do that. Maybe you can sidechain it, or you can do some other weird shit with it. But yeah, this is all about just really, you know, just really like making things fit and move together. And again, we have like this synth wet, which I think we'll probably use the dry of that. And we have the bass. This is the synth string bass wet. We have the trumpet wet. I'm just going to get rid of all these wet stems for now. And we're just going to really focus on the dry stems of everything. So I'm going to turn that off. And anytime I see wet over here, I'm just going to turn it off. Okay. So that's the cello, and let's hear just these dry stems in here with this end part. And then the next thing I want to do is kind of like build some headroom for everything. All right. So now you're hearing what I'm starting to do, right? Like build in this like palette of the orchestra and the stems that we have from the orchestra, and then put them against the electronic elements with the drums and everything, and start to hear those together, and then put the vocals in and go, what's going on now? Okay, so what I'm hearing right away is we need a lot of room, right? We need to build some more space. And as you get to the end of a really big epic thing, right? Make it bigger, make it louder, make it bigger, make it louder. that's always the comment, right? From every music supervisor, director, etc. We need it to be bigger, bigger, bigger. It needs to be bigger, right? You can only go so big. So what you want to do is make everything else smaller, right? If you could strip back things, then when something does get really big, the juxtaposition between silence and massive tons of stacks of everything and timbres, that's when you feel like something's really big, right? So right now what we need to do is we need to pull down everything besides the vocals. I think that would be like my next move, is say, okay, what's in the mix right now? Okay, so these are not in the mix. Let's mute them, turn them off, right? And hide them. Just go here, hide selected tracks. And anything else that we don't have in the mix right now. So this viola wet, cello wet, let's hide these. Okay, get rid of anything that's not playing right now. And this is the end, right? So, and this is muted, it looks like. So turn it off and get rid of it. Hide it. So get rid of things that you're not using, that you don't need in the session, rather than going through and trying to figure out what you do need, right? That's my first step that I do. So we have the vocals, some of them in. Guitar ARP, it looks like that's not even being used, and it looks like I actually duplicated it and made my own chain for this guitar because I wanted it to sound better, right? So I made it sound better because that's what I do. That's my job. My job is to make shit sound better, okay? And let's turn that off and bypass that and then hide that track as well. And what are we left with? Yeah, we're left with some synth strings, which I don't know if we'll use because I don't know if we like them or not, or if they work against the stems that we have now. But everything else looks fine. Bridge synth, advanced hydraulics. These look like synths that were just left in the session. So literally turn them off, mute them, and bypass them and hide them. And I hide them rather than deleting them because I don't know, maybe the artist comes back and says, you know what, I had a couple synths in there that I think would be really dope for the bridge part. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I deleted those. Yeah, I got rid of those. Fuck those. So I want to also figure out where this bass needs to be muted or where it needs to be heard and it needs to kind of sidechain because maybe the eighth note kind of feel is cool towards the end where it starts to pick up pace. I'm just not really sure yet, but I do know that all my instruments right now that are going on feel like they're at a good balance. They just need headroom because once I start putting in, for example, all of these vocals, so these are all the vocals here. Okay, I'm just going to put all that in. So these are all the vocals. These are the guitar. These are the synth kind of bass padded, square saw, whatever you want to call them, big low end synths, right? So these have a lot of low end in them. And I've done a lot with this synth. I've actually tweaked it quite a bit. And then we have the cinematic drums. We have the glitch mob kind of drums, the rock drums coming in. And then we got all of our orchestral stems that we're going to be using that I'm liking so far, right? So one thing I want to do here is let's just take all of these orchestral stems and let's bus them to their own bus so we can just control it easier, right? So go bus 9 and we'll call this orc stems, right? And then let's just have that. We now know that we can just mute and unmute that and like that's the whole orchestra. We might want to subgroup that even down further, but for now I'm going to leave it like that. And a cool trick is to use that Curves Equator plugin or something similar to it, like a Gullfoss or whatever, and just it'll clear up the orchestra. It'll separate the different timbres a little bit more. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I go here And this is like, as I'm producing, I want to get a sound good without having to mix a shit ton. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to go into a deep dive of mixing and EQing and compressing. I just want to make this sound better than it sounds right now and split apart stuff a little bit. You can also use the sidechain function on this, which is really, really cool. But for now, I'm going to go to it. Sorry, it's taking me forever to scroll this. I have way too many plugins. Pro Tools, you can just hit the tab button and search for it. So here's Curves Equator here. I'm going to have it learn the orchestral stem at the end here as all of the orchestra is hitting, right? So all these stems are at its high point. Right here. So it comes in here, I believe. Yeah. So check this out. So we're going to hit learn here. And we're going to have this learn it. All right, so really dope about this is we could put this Curves Equator on and we could say, hey, you know what? If we want the sub bass stuff to take up the sub bass frequencies and like maybe cross over right here, we could use this on a sidechain, right? So let's do this. I'll show you what I'm talking about so you can really understand what I'm doing. Because I'm not just going to pull the volumes down. I'm going to make room for extra dB of headroom when it's hitting the master bus. That's what I'm doing right now, okay? So if these are all really big low-end synths, let's unmute everything. Let's just solo these. Let's hear these. That's a shit ton of low end, right? That's sub, all sorts of stuff going on there. So let's take these and bus them to their own bus. Go bus 10. And we'll go over here and we'll call these bass synths or synth bass. Probably better to put synth ahead of it. And then let's put the synth bass bus on the side chain of the orchestra stem. So check this out. I know this is maybe confusing because of what I've already done. So let's get rid of the Curves Equator and let's do this from scratch here. So I'm going to move my screen out of the way so you guys can see it. And if you have any questions while I do this, let me know. Okay. No, I do not. I don't EQ the DT 1990s because I'm trying to actually learn these headphones and they sent these headphones to me. So I'm going to give them feedback on these headphones. So far, they have kind of a hyped high end to me. And they're a little bit, they have like some weird dips and curves in the EQ, especially in the mid-range. But mid-range and then like a high-end sizzle that's happening that's kind of peaked up on these headphones. So I don't EQ them yet because I want to actually really listen to them and spend some time with them. And also just see how things are translating between these and my Dutch and Dutch 8Cs. Like when I bounce back and forth with a mix, am I feeling like I want to add more top end back in when I go to my Dutch and Dutch? Or am I feeling okay with these, you know? And are these fatiguing my ears or what are they doing with the mid-range, etc.? So I'm trying to learn these right now, so I do not want to EQ them. Okay, that's the reason why. So are you guys ready for this? Hopefully you're ready for this. Okay, so here we go. So we got the synth bass and we have the orc stem, stems bus, okay? So on the orc stems bus, we want to put on the Curves Equator, and then we want to select on the side chain the synth bass, right? Synth bass bus here, so bus 10. Then we want to hit the side chain button, and we want to hit the learn function and play. All right, so what we see here is this is the side chain coming in. So you can kind of think of this as like inversed, right? So if I flip this up, that would be the EQ curve of the synth bass on the side chain, which is like a really peaked up on the low stuff, right? And as we play this back, you'll notice the orchestra has a ton of information down here, right? So to let the synth bass take over the sub stuff, I'm going to go to the advanced controls and I'm going to turn on the crossover points here, right? See where it starts to kind of like crossover? Probably around here, you know? I mean, you can get really stupid with it and go like that, but I don't think that's as musical. So probably somewhere around here, right? And what we'll do here is we'll kind of let this take over the low end sub, right? Everything else, let's just let the orchestra take over, right? And I don't know, maybe because there is like kind of some like growl and top stuff in the synth that might be really cool. Let's maybe let that kind of take over here as well. So check it out. Pretty dope, right? It actually makes all the top end stuff in the orchestra really come out a lot more because you're really taking down the low, warm, deep stuff from the bass strings, the low brass, etc., and you're letting the synth take over that sub stuff. So making a cool balance of that could be really nice. Like if you just ducked a little bit of that. I'm overdoing it, obviously. And the more you bring up this sensitivity, you can really overdo it. And the shape, if you make it really flat, then you can really overdo it as well. So it's just up to you how you really want to shape this. But this is a great way to sort of make room for stuff. You can do the same thing with the vocals. When, you know, the vocals come in at the end and there's so much stuff going on, you can just kind of carve out a little space for those vocals so that you can hear the vocals better and they never get buried, right? Yeah, what do you got here? Let me see. I do have some Bell 7482 and high shelf on Herman curve. Is that what you have? You have these 1990s with this curve going on. Are you saying some Bell? Are you cutting 7400 and 8200? Because I would cut that. I don't know if I'd boost that on these because these definitely peak that up a little bit. And then I'd say like, yeah, that's a good call on the high shelf. Are you ducking the shelf? Because these have like this sizzle to everything. I'm finding them useful as a tool to check noise, right? Like if you have, because a lot of the music I make is kind of soulful and, you know, vintage kind of vibes. So I'll use tape machine plugins and stuff that might cause a lot of noise up there. And when I put these on, it becomes really apparent, right? It's like, if you're just listening on normal speakers, nothing that's hyped, my D&Ds are not hyped. They are super flat, right? But if they were hyped, you'd hear that more, you know, you hear the shh of the tape, any noise, sibilance, things like that. But yeah, definitely, yeah, cutting for sure. I was going to say, because these definitely have like that, like those high peaks, which is cool. It helps you with reverbs, delays, sibilance, mouth clicks, plosives, things like that. But yeah, they're hyped for sure. Like if I'm mixing, I'm not relying on these 100%. I would bounce between these and maybe the ATH-50s, ATH-50Xs. I feel like they're opposites of these. So they kind of complement each other pretty well. So that's how you do that really simply. And let's throw this in the mix because that just gave us a bunch of headroom. Okay. So now when we hit our stereo bus, it's not going to be hitting it as hard. Yeah, so just makes everything kind of more wide and separated, etc., not so congested. But you may like the congested idea, right? And I'm just taking this down right here because I feel like this is where the vocal is really hitting, around that 1500 area. So I'm just making some more room for that. For the synth bass and the orc stem, I just want to hear the synth bass solo. Okay, one thing I don't like is how like attacky this is with the filter envelope. It feels like tick, 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 like it's ticking, and I hate that. It's driving me fucking crazy. I feel like it needs to be shorter too. Like it doesn't need to go ding ding dong ding ding. Like if you're gonna do something that's rhythmic like this, and there's all this other stuff going on, we can clear up a lot of space by just programming this synth better. Meaning we can clean it up. We can take the ADSR and turn the release down, right? I don't use Alchemy, fair warning. So it's not something that I'm going to like get right away, but I do use a lot of different synths. So I understand synths pretty well, but let's go to the ARP here. This is what's going on here. You know, that's what this is doing here. So let's start to mess around maybe with the length of this, and maybe that'll help with the ADSR here. See, also that delay, no bueno, no bueno. Like this is not going to work together when you have so many things going on. These kind of huge sounds work really well when that's the only sound you got, right? There's no bass, there's no padded bass, there's no sub bass, etc. So you can do this and you can have this like delay thing going on and it can be all fucking crazy. But yeah, don't do this when you have other shit going on. So, and you know, I'm not blaming the artist. Like I've added so much to this record. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying as you add more sounds, those sounds should be smaller and smaller and smaller. They shouldn't be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? You stack a bunch of huge synth sounds on top of each other, they're going to sound like a big mess, right? So before you go throwing the curves equator and making room on your side chain like I just showed you, mess with your specific sounds directly. And I kind of do both. I go back and forth and I balance that as I'm producing because it's such a juggling, you know, it's just like a modular process. You affect something, it changes something else, etc. So, yeah. How about Audis? Audis for sure boosted on the top end, man. Like almost too boosted, like where I can't handle it because it's so hi-fi, right? Like the Audis, the big floating ones and stuff, man, they're almost not enjoyable to listen to because they're so bright and so hi-fi. I can't handle those because they do not translate to the real world. Nobody's listening on Audis fucking headphones. I mean, people are, right? But not the average listener. And most of the time, not even engineers. Had no idea you streamed stuff like this. Yeah. So, you know, I'm just, I'm trying to stream more for you guys and help you guys out. So all I ask in return is you guys show some love. Like there's only 9 likes on this video. Like you guys can hit that thumbs up, you know, if you get something out of this, you could drop a comment, you can share it, you know, go post it on your Instagram or your Facebook or wherever else. You know, that means a lot. Like, I'm just doing this, you know, out of the kindness of my heart. I just want you guys to kind of reciprocate a little bit, right? Like, shit. People expect so much out of people nowadays. It's like, you should be streaming, you should be sharing all your stuff. I get hit with DMs all the time where it's like, hey man, I love your stuff. Do you mind listening to my song and giving me feedback on my production and my mix and my master? And I'm like, no, I do mind, of course. Like, I got shit to do, bro. Like, I'm working. Yeah, let me take out like an hour or 30 minutes just to fucking give you feedback on your track. It's crazy to me. Like, and they expect it. They just ask for it. I've never even met these people. They don't introduce themselves. They just say like, yeah, I love your shit, man. Would you give me feedback? So yeah, you guys just show love, you know, reciprocate this stuff. So as you can hear, that's just kind of getting lost. So if I was to just like make that big again and add all this delay and stuff, it's going to take away from the orchestra. It's going to take away from other things. It's going to take away from the vocal. It's going to take away. So the more you add of something, the more it's going to take up. The more space it's going to take up. The more attention it's going to demand, right? And right now, this orc stem sounds to me like it needs a little love. You know, it needs like a... You know how these are all dry stems? We might want to individually kind of program reverb for the strings and the horns and kind of give them dimension. We might separate them a little bit more, etc. So if I come to the orc stem and the stuff that we're using, because it doesn't look like we're using some of this. Actually, I don't know why. Did I mute this on purpose? Probably not. So let's turn these back on. I'm not sure why these are all muted, but let's hear all these together. All right, so that right there, that's going to kind of, you got to pick and choose, you know what I'm saying? Like, Andrew did this part and it's going bop, 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 right? But then remember, we also have these guys doing stuff, right? So we need to pick and choose what's happening, and do they work together? Do they bounce off of each other rhythmically? Because polyrhythms can be really cool, but if they're not working together, then one of them needs to be muted, okay? So here's what we got. So this is like the, and I'm going to label these a little bit better, but check this out. Doesn't work, right? So it's going bum 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 bum, and this one's going da 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 da. All it's doing is taking over that idea that he's written into that. So what are you going to do? Are you going to choose this one, or are you going to choose this synth? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get both, and if you take both, you're going to make things a little bit more confusing. The listener's going to go, I don't understand what's going on here. This is like too much is happening. Okay, so as I'm going, I'm just like modular process, right? I'm like, nah, I like this better. I like this cool low synth here better than what he had with this da 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 da. The Alchemy synth just doesn't sound good. Sounds like shit now to me. So I mute it, turn it off, hide it, get the fuck out of my life. Make decisions, you know what I'm saying? And then if the artist's like, dude, where'd that go? I want that back. Cool, we'll figure it out. But it's hidden, okay? And now we have this together with all this sub bass and stuff. All right, sounds pretty cool. What I want to do now is maybe make this low synth bass thing hit a little bit of distortion or something to help kind of fit into that same world that those other synths are in, right? The big wah, you know, with the unison and the distortion and all this shit going on. A great way to do that is just add some harmonics, right? Because it's already kind of filtered out, let's add some harmonics so we can get up an octave or so with some distortion. And I'll just use the same plugin that I was using, this from Slate Digital, the Heatwave one. This shit is fire. I love this shit. So let's solo this and turn up the drive here and see what we can do. Kind of sick, right? And it makes it more analog sounding too, because it's got that little hiss on the top, which I like. You know, don't be afraid of noise, like especially when you're making stuff that sounds organic. Like, just go for it, you know? Let me see here. I'm going to go back to it, and let's put in those synth basses now with this. All right, so we got a dry trumpet. So now let's pop in some nice sweetening on the orchestral stems that are dry. So I'm going to send this to a bus, and I'm going to open up the Altiverb plugin, which is one of my favorites when it comes to orchestral kind of stuff, because it's a great convolution reverb, which means there's sampled spaces. You know, they take a convolution is basically like taking a snapshot of a room, and then we have like the snapshot of these different studios and these different rooms. And I always love, if you want to go really, really big and really fucking epic, you want to go into this world, right? Where you're going into the cathedrals and shit like that, right? You have the Sydney Opera House and all that. But if I want to do something kind of in the middle, this is weird. There's like question marks everywhere. It looks like I probably need an update. Looks all fucked up. But if I want to go kind of cinematic, but not too big, I go to a scoring stage. You know, we go to like Fox, or we go to MCO or something like that. So I have this locked in where I really like this one. I forget which one this is. It's a scoring stage, maybe MCO, but it might be 20th Century Fox. Now it's showing up. All right, so if we turn that up and we send this trumpet there, check it out. And that's not really big enough for me as far as that verb goes. But let's call this orc verb. Because if it's going to be epic, we got to make it epic, right? So let's go back and let's go to the cathedrals. and not cathedrals, but live venues. There is one that I really love. Let me see here. Is it not that? Oh, these are stadiums. It's pretty sick. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. So these are like churches and chapels and stuff like that. These are really sick. Really big, beautiful, spacious, kind of organic sounding. All right, so let's try this out. Yeah, it's a chapel. Another thing I love to do on trumpets is add some sort of like the best thing the best way I'd put it is like a transformer, right? If you could throw a transformer on your sampled trumpets, you're good, right? And one good one for this is like the Kazrog stuff. They have like straight up, it's just like true iron. It's like literally you're going through different. Yeah, that's it right there. I don't know why this is in demo. I have this, but anyway, I'm not going to use this because it's in demo and I don't want to deal with all that. But you can see there's a bunch of different voicings for transformers. I'm going to just go to, where is it? God, what am I thinking of? Fucking hitting transformer. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna find something else. I thought I had that. Oh, is it True 52? Oh, this is a really cool EQ, but this is not what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking of a good transformer to hit. Soft Tube is a good one. The tape plugin is really good. So if you want to just like, what I'm trying to do here is like a transformer or tape, like when you're hitting magnetic tape, the compression is instant. There's no attack and release on it. It just instantly compresses the signal, right? So what you get out of that, oh, you know what? You guys can't tell anyone that I showed you this, but my guy, Ryan, sent me this op amp. This is not, I shouldn't show you guys this one. That's not out. You can't even see that. Pretend you didn't see that. You didn't see any of that. Get out of here. Okay, so Gold Clip can be cool for this. So check this out. So Gold Clip has a high-end compressor called Alchemy, right? So if we turn this on, right? Let's go here and turn on Alchemy. And if we turn this up, we get 2 dB of high-end compression. So this can be really, really cool on trumpets. And if you go to like a modern or a classic knee here, this could be really, really dope. Check it. It's really hard with trumpets, man. Because like the trumpet sample has that like digital sampley kind of, that mid-range just kind of fucks it up for me. But Gold Clip's giving you a little bit more with the gold and the alchemy. Basically what I'm doing is bringing up the low level information so it sounds a little bit thicker, the trumpet does, and not as screechy at the top. That's all I'm trying to do. Maybe not the best tool for it, but you know, better. I think it's better with the Gold Clip than it is without it. And I'm going to actually take off oversampling on this because I do want this to actually just completely chop it. So let's go oversampling. Oh, it's already on. Clip guard. No, I don't care about that. Yeah, oversampling's on, I guess. Just has to be on. There you go. All right, so we got our trumpets. We got them in a room. Let's throw in any other brass. This is what I want, the brass dry here. Let's check this out. Making room, building headroom, making the sounds more exciting in the mix. Hey, that sounded pretty damn good, y'all. All right, so after the Altiverb, I'm just going to throw a EQ in here because I don't want too much buildup in that low mid area. Firing off the walls, also there's some like high mids that I'm really not liking. And I'm just going to use a Pro Q3 real quick to clean that up. Nothing crazy, just gonna do some real quick cleanup on the return on this reverb. Yeah, sounding sexy. All right, now let's go to bring in, what else we got for brass? Okay, we got this synth, this brass synth. Let's hear this. Might be cool to take this brass synth and throw it through the Juno chorus as well, just to kind of fit it back into that kind of retro 70s, 80s vibe that we have going on, because I feel like it's just kind of sitting right on top of the high trumpets and stuff, which make it kind of not that exciting or interesting. Just feels like it's adding voltage to the mix. So let's see if we can use this and work with it. If not, we can literally just mute this sound. It's not even necessary. Okay, so one of my favorite presets on this is just to go to the light chorusing and mess with this here. Sounding pretty sick. All right, let's bring all these stems down now so we can give ourselves some headroom, because we got a lot more to bring in. So let's go down maybe 3 dB, like a lot, right? Let's go quite a bit down. Let's go like even 4 dB, close to 3 to 4 here. All right. Sounding really good to me. All right, so on the Orc stems, we have the Curves Equator doing some nice sidechain stuff with the synth bass, right? But after that, let's do just a little bit of cleanup on this whole thing and glue for the whole orchestra together, right? And one thing I really love doing, especially on this kind of vibe, is just give it some tape. Give it something that's just going to congeal it. That's all we want to do. And it's nothing crazy. Like you can just throw a compressor on here, like a 1176, just barely tickling a needle, you know? You can do whatever you want to kind of congeal the process, but these all kind of need to feel together, more like a record and less like a bunch of orchestral samples all thrown into reverb, you know? It's starting to feel a little bit disjointed to me. And also a little bit too wide. You know, sometimes I just use tape or other plugins like compressors to just bring in the middle, bring in the sides, you know, so it's not so wide, because too wide feels disjointed and awkward in the ears, you know, and maybe it's because I got the headphones on and I'm working with headphones, but it just feels like really like, whoa. All right, so let's just hit this just really, really lightly with tape. You can always start with like a preset. Anything that says like, oh, light touch on the tape mix bus or something, right? So here you go, mix bus warmer. And this says 1 VU, right? So it's just very, very light. Let's see. That's doing so very little on the top end. Also kind of bringing out a little bit of the body more. But let's pop all this into the mix without bringing in any of the strings yet. So I'm just going to mute all this. And we're going to unsolo these so we can hear what we got.
Here I am. Here I stand. Here I am in nowhere.
Right, so this is where I'm like, we don't need this bass. It's literally just getting lost in a sauce of mud. It's like, you would not even know that that bass is there. You would just feel like there's more voltage hitting everything, and it doesn't sound good. So what we're going to do here on this bass part is we're going to mute it once we come to this kind of second big part here. Let's hear what we got here.
Could I run? I'll stay right here in nowhere. Here I am. Here I stay. Here I am in nowhere.
Okay, so to my ear, I'm hearing this not coming in until the boo, 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 boo. I'm taking that out. And I'm not hearing it come in until here. And up until there, we could still have that bass going. So it doesn't feel like it just got turned off. You know what I mean? Because I think that's kind of distracting, where you're like, where'd the bass go? What happened? All right, so let's go like this and unmute this part. And just pop the chop on the clock, mute that, and then bang the swing on the side of things. All right, and hopefully you guys are following along here.
Here I am. Here I stand. Here I am in nowhere. Far out.
Nope, don't like it. So this is why you gotta listen. This low double dry thing, it's just not working. Doesn't sound good. Boop, see ya, you lost. Fuck you, I'm out of here. Yeah, you gotta do this, man. Like when you're producing, you gotta be like, nope. Doesn't work. It's not adding, it's not taking away. I mean, it's not adding. It's not making it better. So if it's not making better, I say peace. You know, get the fuck out of my session. This bass needs to just keep going until we hit the big epic shit at the end. That's how I'm feeling right now. So let's just keep playing this.
Far I've come, how could I run? I'll stay right here and nowhere. Here I am, here I stand. Here I am and nowhere.
Hell yeah, that's sounding really good, right? Like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, yeah, I believe that this is going to change the game, or you know, go to a movie trailer and just like make it really cool. What I see is like a guy on Mars or another planet by himself, and he's just like, and like the camera is like zooming out on him, and he's like by himself, and he's like, here I am in nowhere, you know? Like I think that's sick. It's just like a cool concept. And it just gets bigger and bigger, right? Like we started here, remember?
Here I am, I'm doing well. Thanks so much for asking. Would you the way you make me feel? With these you've made me heal. The days you lift me up when low is all too very real. Oh, it's real, very real. Take me by the hand, please don't pull too strong. I've come to like it here, I won't be here so very long. Here I am.
Okay, one thing I want to experiment with is giving this a little more room here. Like the like just let it go silent and then bring it back in on bar 51 is kind of how I'm hearing it. So let's grab all of this, because I feel like it'll make it feel bigger when everything else comes back in, right? That's just like my inclination, my spidey sense, if you will, if you're into that sort of thing. All right, so let's grab all this and let's grab it and let's move it. I just feel like it needs that like breathing room where it kind of goes, oh, cool. This is sick. Oh, yeah, I feel that. All right, so let's go like that. And delete this, whatever that is, a little extra swing back on the swinger side of things. And let's just play this back. Yeah, there's like weird stuff going on here, but you know, if I can figure it out, whatever is like remnants of this shit. Bitty bing, bitty bing, bitty bing, bing, bing. All right, get that. Oh, it's this guy. This little weird string. This should have went with it, I believe. Yeah. So this is usually what I do. If I'll just cut it and then I'll bring back the front of it. If I do it like that, and then I'll just chop this and fade it. All right, swing, 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 bing, 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 bada, 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 bada. All right, now make sure that our base doesn't get cut off either. Right, that looks good. And always put fades on stuff if you're not sure. Right, you don't want weird chops and cuts. Let's hear this now. It's like the release on some of these strings and stuff that he has going on. They just don't sound right. They sound weird. I'm not sure what it is here. It might just be like the attack or the release on this. Yeah, it's like, like, what happened? What is that? What is that? I don't know. Maybe it just needs to, something needs to be extended here. Nah, I don't like it. So undo. All right, this motherfucker. These are out of tune. There's something pitchy in here. There's some note. Ugh, it's pissing me off. I was like, what the hell? Something's going weird. And also the reverb turned off, which makes that there's a note in there rubbing with the horns. Just hearing these without the reverb. It's not working, right? So let me show you why. And my ear just like tweaked to that one because I could just hear that shit like hit me so hard. And I think it's because it's so dry as well. Like it says DAW restart required on the UADX stuff, which means all my UADX stuff is not working right now, right? So this Studer, yeah, see, activate license. So there's like all this stuff just like kind of went out. And I was like, what the hell just happened there? I don't know why that happened, but that kind of pissed me off. Just threw me off. But also, it was a good thing, kind of a blessing in disguise, because I wouldn't have heard that weird note in there. You know what I mean? No side chaining going on the reverbs. I don't usually like to sidechain the reverbs, unless it's going to be like a super EDM kind of thing. Like I might do it for effect, but typically not. So check this out. So these vocals here going with these lines, which I think are right. Check this out. Together, there's something out of pitch here. That ain't right. So there's like a sounds fly. Something weird. Something weird. Might need to hit it with some Melodyne or some auto-tune, right? Just to make sure that these background vocals are in tune. That's very, very important. But I'm going to actually end the stream here because I need to relaunch and get my UADX and shit going again. I don't know what happened. Just decided to shit out on me. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go show some love on some other videos. And, you know, share the show. Like try to reciprocate this. Hit the like button, you know, not too hard, not asking for much. All right, you guys have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Happy Monday.